Power is not simply taken, it is maintained through an unwavering display of discipline. When a leader begins to tolerate unacceptable behavior within their ranks, be it insubordination, inconsistency, or moral frailty, they send a signal not of compassion, but of weakness. Authority once questioned does not recover easily. A single tolerated act of defiance plants a seed of chaos, and that seed, if not crushed, will grow roots deeper than loyalty itself. The illusion that forgiveness earns respect is the fantasy of the knave. The reality is sharper. When you allow one man to cross the line, the rest will soon forget the line ever existed. Discipline is the language of power. It is the invisible wall that separates the ruler from the ruled, the lion from the sheep. To let that wall crack is invite wolves into your flock. When behavior that contradicts your standards is ignored or excused, it multiplies. Humans mimic what is permitted. They look not to your words, but to the consequences you do, or do not enforce. A ruler's tolerance becomes their enemy's opportunity. That which goes unchecked becomes the rule, not the exception. Understand this, not all rebellion wears a crown or carries a sword. Sometimes it slouches in silence, it laughs behind your back, it rolls its eyes at your orders. It is casual, subtle, and unspoken, but it is rebellion all the same. Those who challenge your discipline may not raise their voice, but they undermine your influence with every glance and whisper. The moment you hesitate to confront these shadows, they begin to feel immortal. Your indecision becomes their invitation. There is no virtue in suffering fools. You cannot build an empire on excuses and overlooked flaws. Discipline is not cruelty, it is clarity. It tells your followers where the edge is, and reminds them what waits beyond it. The world does not reward softness in leadership. It devours it. Those who hope to lead must learn to be feared not for their temper, but for their consistency. If your standards shift with emotion, you are no longer leading. You are negotiating your survival. To preserve power, the leader must act not from emotion, but from necessity. When someone threatens the harmony, the order, or the standards you've built, you do not owe them a second chance. You owe your system a first defense. The greatest betrayal of power is to protect the wrong person out of guilt, fear, or sentiment. Because in doing so, you expose your entire structure to collapse. A single tolerated transgression is more dangerous than an open enemy. The enemy attacks from the front. The tolerated traitor dismantles from within. Deception is a weapon. It can be wielded to protect or to destroy. But there is a critical distinction between mastering deception and being its victim. When someone lies to you, manipulates situations to their favor, or distorts the truth in subtle ways, they are not simply flawed. They are strategic in their own interest, not yours. To tolerate this behavior is to invite your own downfall. The one who lies once and is not confronted will lie again with greater confidence. Tolerating deception is not compassion, it is surrender. In every structure of power, be it political, personal, or professional, trust is currency, and deception is the counterfeit that drains its value. If you allow someone to manipulate the truth without consequence, you broadcast that truth is negotiable in your presence. You become predictable, easily maneuvered, and eventually replaceable. Those who lie do not merely obscure facts. They test your vigilance. If they sense you will overlook their dishonesty, they learn that your power is hollow, that your perception can be molded. And what can be molded can be broken. It is not the loud deceivers who are most dangerous. It is the quiet ones. The ones who twist your words gently, who frame stories to make themselves appear innocent while making others look guilty. They wear smiles, but their eyes measure your reactions. They do not act blindly, they probe. Every falsehood they tell is a move on the board. If you don't make a countermove, you are no longer playing the game. You are being played. Some will argue that lies are human, that mistakes happen, that white lies are harmless. That is the reasoning of the weak. A leader must not adopt such comforting illusions. A lie is never neutral. It always benefits someone at the cost of someone else. If that someone is not you, then you are the one being sacrificed. Tolerating deception is not just about forgiving a lie. It is about allowing someone else's ambition to overshadow your own authority. It's about placing your future in the hands of someone who sees truth as a tool, not a principle. There is also a deceptive danger in silence. When someone withholds information they know you need, when they obscure reality by saying nothing at all, they are lying through omission. This behavior is no less dangerous. Those who master silence often do more harm than those who speak. They wait for you to act blind, then claim innocence. Tolerating this behavior makes you appear gullible, or worse, complicit. The one who deceives once and is not challenged becomes bold. The one who is bold becomes reckless. And the reckless do not stop until they have taken what they want, or until someone stronger stops them. If you wish to preserve your command, your reputation, and your direction, then deception must be seen for what it is, a calculated threat. One you either confront swiftly or allow to consume everything you have built from the inside out. Loyalty is not owed, it is earned and preserved through shared interests, not sentiment. To assume that someone will remain loyal out of obligation is to misunderstand human nature. People are loyal as long as it benefits them to be. When circumstances shift, so too does their allegiance. The mistake is believing that proximity or history guarantees faithfulness. It does not. Every act of loyalty is a decision, and so is every betrayal. Tolerating disloyalty under the illusion of mercy is to open the gate to your own ruin. When a man shows signs of divided loyalty, when his words shift depending on who listens, when his support wavers in times of difficulty, he has already made his choice. He is not confused. He is calculating. To excuse such behavior is to invite others to do the same. Disloyalty, once overlooked, becomes a precedent. It teaches those who witness it that betrayal is survivable, even profitable. This erodes the structure of any leadership from the inside out. There must be a cost to turning one's back, or soon everyone will. The danger of disloyalty is not always immediate. It festers quietly. The disloyal do not need to strike openly. They simply need to hesitate when action is needed, to remain silent when support is required, to flatter in person and doubt in private. This slow erosion is more lethal than direct defiance. The man who openly opposes you declares himself. The man who smiles while questioning your leadership behind closed doors is far more dangerous. And if he is allowed to remain, he does not just weaken your authority, he teaches others to hide their knives as well. Loyalty must be absolute or not at all. There is no such thing as partial allegiance. Those who shift their tone, who play both sides, who wait to see who gains the upper hand before choosing where they stand, these are not allies. They are opportunists, and nothing poisons a leader's influence faster than surrounding oneself with those whose loyalty depends on the winds of advantage. If you keep such people close, you are not keeping counsel, you are keeping company with your future enemies. The loyal do not need to be watched. They prove themselves in silence, in moments where there is no reward. They defend your name when it costs them. They speak the truth even when it offends you, and they do not waver when things turn hostile. These are rare, and their value cannot be overstated, but their presence makes the disloyal stand out even more. When you see the contrast, you must act. To keep the disloyal in your circle is to admit weakness. It signals that fear, nostalgia, or indecision governs your choices. This undermines not just your image, but your control. The loyal must be rewarded with closeness, influence, and trust. The disloyal must be cast out, regardless of their history, their past usefulness, or your personal attachment to them. Anything less is not mercy. It is betrayal of your own cause. Weakness is not just a personal flaw. It is a contagious disease. It spreads through words, through silence, through hesitation, and it infects those who would otherwise act with strength. Tolerating weakness in those around you is not an act of kindness. It is a failure of judgment. A single weak link in the chain compromises the strength of the whole. Allow a coward to speak loudly, and soon the brave begin to question their own resolve. Allow indecision to sit at the table, and soon the entire operation slows, stumbles, and collapses under the weight of inaction. The weak do not always appear feeble at first. They wear disguises, soft-spoken advice, overly cautious warnings, exaggerated concerns about consequences. They preach patience where action is needed, compromise where resolve is demanded. They speak of peace not because they understand diplomacy, but because they fear confrontation. They clothe their fear in reason and call it wisdom. But their influence is corrosive. They dull the edge of the sword and turn urgency into delay. A leader must see through these disguises. The one who hesitates when strength is required, who avoids decision when others are waiting, who deflects responsibility with practiced excuses, this person is a liability. Their presence sends a message that failure is tolerated, that passivity is acceptable. It encourages others to lower their standards, to question the value of courage and clarity. It weakens the culture of power, turning the exceptional into the ordinary. Worse still, the weak often crave validation. They seek comfort, not correction. They surround themselves with other weak minds to avoid the pressure of growth. They fear being exposed, so they attack confidence. They mock boldness. They twist ambition into arrogance. Their goal is not to rise, They do not know how, but to pull others down to a level where they feel safe. If you allow them to operate unchecked, they will slowly reshape the environment into one that punishes strength and rewards mediocrity. Do not mistake desperation for determination. Do not confuse loud frustration with resolve. True strength is quiet, consistent, and prepared to act. The weak panic, complain, and wait for someone else to lead. And when the moment arrives to choose between sacrifice and self-preservation, the weak will always abandon the mission. They will look you in the eye, promise loyalty, and then flee at the first sign of risk. To permit this behavior is to encourage it. To excuse it is to infect the capable with doubt. Every strong system is built on accountability. Not everyone is fit to stand beside those who lead, those who fight, those who carry weight. The weak will try to blend in, to imitate strength when the environment is safe. But when the storm comes, their true nature is revealed. If you wait until then to act, it is already too late. The cost of tolerating weakness is not paid in private. It is paid on the field, in front of everyone. When failure is visible and irreversible, order is the spine of power. Without it, authority dissolves into chaos, and leadership becomes a performance instead of a force. Those who disrupt order, through constant conflict, gossip, unnecessary drama, or refusal to follow structure, are not simply difficult personalities. They are threats to the very system that keeps power intact. A leader who tolerates disorder permits rebellion in its most disguised form. It is not always the sword that cuts the deepest. It is the whisper, the interruption, the unspoken tension that turns unity into disarray. People thrive when they know their place, their purpose, and the boundaries within which they operate. Order brings clarity. It allows every individual to understand their role, to act without confusion, and to commit to a shared rhythm. But the one who rejects this rhythm, the one who sows division, questions every decision not out of wisdom but out of pride, does not seek improvement. They seek attention, control, and disruption. If allowed to persist, they redefine the culture. Suddenly, rules become flexible, standards optional, and your voice no longer final. There is a certain type who feeds on chaos. They feel powerful when they pull others into conflict. They never solve problems, they magnify them. These individuals create tension in the room, shift blame subtly, and disguise disorder as creativity or authenticity. They believe their emotions justify their actions, that their volatility is a sign of passion. But passion without discipline is noise, and noise, if left unchecked, drowns out purpose. The one who brings confusion wherever they go is not valuable. They are dangerous. A disciplined environment does not restrict power, it amplifies it. It provides the foundation on which strong decisions can be made, and without it, everything crumbles. Disorder does not arrive all at once, it seeps in gradually. One small act of insubordination, one ignored breach of protocol, one unchecked burst of ego. These are not isolated incidents, they are tests. And every time you fail to respond, the test becomes a lesson for others. That lesson is simple: chaos is tolerated here. Leaders who wish to preserve their influence must become architects of order. This does not mean enforcing blind obedience, but it does mean demanding consistency. The ones who follow you should not be left guessing. They should not wonder if today's standards will apply tomorrow. When rules shift to please personalities, order dies. When personal emotions dictate public decisions, structure dies. And when those who thrive on drama are allowed to stay, loyalty to the mission fades. You do not share power with those who disrespect the system. You do not compromise with those who choose conflict over clarity. The moment someone proves that their presence brings confusion, division, or instability, they have declared themselves incompatible with progress. Tolerating them is not strategy, it is sabotage. Every day you delay removing them, the foundation beneath you weakens, not because they are strong, but because your silence gives them space to operate. Power is not preserved through sentiment, but through clarity. Each behavior tolerated against your better judgment becomes a silent betrayal of the order you claim to protect. To lead is not to accommodate the disloyal, the deceptive, the weak, the chaotic. It is to confront them. It is to choose discipline over comfort, principle over popularity, and structure over sentiment. You are not tasked with keeping everyone happy. You are tasked with keeping your mission intact, and that requires drawing hard lines. Mercy, when misplaced, becomes a weapon against yourself. The very behaviors you hesitate to punish are the ones that will undo your authority, quietly at first, then all at once. You cannot afford to protect what threatens your position. You cannot afford to excuse what poisons your standards. Leadership is not about how much you can endure. It is about what you refuse to allow. The path forward demands more than ambition. It demands discipline, vigilance, and the courage to say, this is where I stand, and this is what I will never tolerate. Because in the end, what destroys a kingdom is not always an outside enemy. It is the rot that was allowed to grow within.